What if I told you the Fallout universe doesn't start with the bombs falling in 2077, but with a quiet, invisible choice back in the 1940s that sent our world and their world down completely different roads? In the Fallout timeline, history looks familiar. World War II, post-war prosperity, American optimism, until it doesn't. The moment of divergence, when their timeline split from ours, created a retro-futuristic America obsessed with nukes, robots, and endless growth, and laid the fuse that would eventually ignite the apocalypse. In our world, the post-war boom led to computers, the internet, and globalization. In Fallout, that same boom got stuck in the 1950s. The culture never moved on. The music stayed swing and crooners, the aesthetics stayed chrome and fins, and the future became an atom-punk dream where everything from cars to coffee machines ran on miniature nuclear reactors. Underneath the smiling advertisements and patriotic posters, though, was the same old fear. The idea, that if America didn't dominate the world's resources, someone else would. That paranoia, multiplied by nuclear technology, set the stage for everything that follows. By the late 21st century, that paranoia becomes reality. Fossil fuels are running dry. The population has exploded. Nations are desperate. This is where the resource wars begin. A brutal, drawn-out scramble for what's left of the planet's oil and uranium. The European Commonwealth collapses as it fights over dwindling supplies in the Middle East. China and the United States face off over Alaskan oil. Smaller countries become battlegrounds, their people crushed between superpowers that only see them as stepping stones to energy. The world doesn't slide peacefully into the future. It claws, bites, and bleeds its way there. For ordinary people in the Fallout universe, the late 21st century feels like living in a propaganda poster with blood on the back. On the surface, smiling housewives, happy commuters, clean suburbs, ads promising a better tomorrow. In the background, rationing, war footage, soldiers on the streets, whispers about conscription and food lines. Imagine hearing about power armor being developed so American soldiers can fight in any climate, any war zone, indefinitely. You're told it's for your safety. You're not told that the people building those suits are also drawing up contingency plans for the day diplomacy finally breaks. And then comes the day diplomacy dies, October 23rd, 2077, the Great War, the shortest, deadliest war in human history. The entire global conflict lasts roughly 2 hours. No negotiations, no front lines, no slow buildup of casualties, just launch codes, incoming missiles, and entire cities vaporized in white light. It's not a war in the traditional sense. It's a synchronized planetary execution. Billions die. Civilization ends before most people can even process that it's begun. But here's the thing. In the Fallout universe, this was not an unforeseen accident. There were people who expected the end, people who planned for it, people who were counting on it. And at the top of that list sits Vault-Tec. Now on paper, Vault-Tec is humanity's savior. They build massive underground vaults advertised as safe havens for American citizens. The marketing is perfect. Shiny brochures, government partnership, glossy images of happy families riding out the nuclear storm in clean, well-lit bunkers. You sign up because you want to protect your kids. You donate, volunteer. Hope you're high enough on the list. It feels like buying an insurance policy against the end of the world. But if you've played the games or watched the show, you know that the vaults are not what they seem. They're not just shelters, they're laboratories. Social experiments disguised as salvation. Hidden in the fine print, in secure boardrooms and classified files, Vault-Tec executives and their government partners design hundreds of vaults, each with a different twisted scenario. One vault gets a dictatorship, another gets a malfunctioning AI, Another is flooded with psychoactive drugs. Some vaults are controls, working more or less as promised, but most are petri dishes for whatever idea some executive wants to test on a trapped population. To the people lucky, or unlucky, enough to make it inside, the vault door closing sounds like survival. To Vault-Tec, that sound is the beginning of an experiment. Generations grow up thinking this underground box is the world. Overseers enforce rules they don't fully understand. Below the surface, hidden logs and terminals reveal just how little choice any of them ever had. The Great War melts the surface and kills almost everything living above ground. But it also clears the stage. When the blast waves fade and the radiation settles, the world doesn't just lie still. It mutates, it twists, it hardens, and slowly, painfully, it begins to rebuild. This is where the factions that dominate Fallout's story start to emerge, from the ashes of governments, corporations, and armies that refuse to die quietly. Let's jump forward. Decades after the bombs, when the dust has settled just enough for people to start claiming territory again, one group stands out: the Brotherhood of Steel. You'll recognize them instantly: towering power armor, glowing visors, the symbol of a sword and gears. But behind the iconic look is a grim origin story. The Brotherhood begins when a U.S. Army officer, Roger Maxson, discovers that his own government and its allies have been experimenting on soldiers and civilians with biological horrors like the forced evolutionary virus. He's horrified. He mutinies. He takes his unit and their families out to a remote military bunker and cuts ties with what's left of the United States. That act, breaking away from a corrupt government, becomes the seed for a new order. In that bunker, Maxson and his people turn into something different: a techno-religious brotherhood dedicated to preserving advanced technology and making sure no one unworthy ever uses it again. Over time, the Brotherhood of Steel evolves into a kind of knightly order. Picture medieval crusaders, but replace the horses with vertibirds and the chainmail with powered exoskeletons. They hoard lasers, plasma rifles, pre-war databases, robots, anything that gives them an edge. Depending on which part of the Fallout universe you're looking at, they can be protectors or tyrants. Sometimes they help wastelanders. Sometimes they strip a town of its tech and walk away, leaving the people defenseless. Above all, they believe that technology nearly destroyed the world once. In their minds, only they are responsible enough to control it. Then there's the NCR, the New California Republic. If the Brotherhood is a paranoid order of techno-knights, the NCR is the opposite. A struggling attempt at democracy in a world that left democracy behind in a cloud of radioactive dust. The NCR starts small: survivors in shady sands, farmers and traders banding together, inspired by old-world American ideals. Over years and games, it grows into a sprawling republic with laws, elections, taxes, and an army. On paper, it's the best of pre-war America reborn. In practice, it's messy, corrupt, and overextended. The NCR wants to bring order to the wastes: roads, policing, trade, stability. But expansion has a price. As they push their borders outward, they clash with raiders, Brotherhood chapters, and other rising powers. Their flag, with its double-headed bear, becomes a symbol of hope for some and occupation for others. In Fallout New Vegas, they're locked in a bitter struggle for Hoover Dam and control of New Vegas, trying to secure water and electricity for their growing population. In the TV timeline, by the time we reach Lucy's era, the NCR has suffered catastrophic blows. The dream of a restored republic is fading, replaced by ruins and stories. Standing in the shadows of these would-be governments is a darker remnant of the old world: the Enclave. If the NCR is post-war democracy, The Enclave is post-war authoritarianism on steroids. They're the surviving fragment of the pre-war US government and its corporate allies, officials, scientists, military brass, hidden away in secure bunkers and offshore bases when the bombs fell. In their eyes, they're not villains. They're the rightful rulers of America, the pure humans who deserve to reclaim the continent. The Enclave has access to some of the best tech left on Earth. Advanced power armor, experimental weapons, high-tech labs, orbital assets, you name it. But their ideology is poisonous. They see the mutated wastelanders, ghouls, super mutants, even unmutated humans born after the war as inferior. Solutions they propose for restoring America often involve wiping out huge chunks of the existing population. In multiple games, you're either working against or directly sabotaging Enclave schemes that would gas, poison, or scorch entire regions in the name of purity. They're what happens when the worst instincts of pre-war power survive the apocalypse intact. And then, in the Mojave and beyond, you meet a faction that feels like it stepped straight out of ancient history, Caesar's Legion. No chrome, no flags of stars and stripes, just red, brass, leather, and brutality. The Legion is built by a man named Edward Sallow, who remakes himself as Caesar and models his new empire on ancient Rome. He conquers tribal groups one by one, folding them into a single, hyper-militarized society obsessed with discipline, slavery, and strength through fear. To outsiders, Caesar's Legion looks like a rolling war crime. They crucify enemies, enslave the defeated, and crush any sign of dissent. To Caesar, it's the only way to build something strong enough to survive the wasteland. He sees the NCR's democracy as weak and doomed. He sees the Brotherhood's isolationism as pointless. In his mind, the future belongs to the faction ruthless enough to impose order at any cost. At Hoover Dam, the NCR and the Legion collide, turning the old pre-war infrastructure into the front line of a new kind of war. A battle not just for land, but for the soul of whatever this new world will become. All of this, every broken promise, every war, every experiment, filters down eventually into the lives of individual people. And that's where the Fallout TV show slots into the timeline. Season 1 and the lead up to Season 2 take place long after the bombs and long after the early games. We're deep into the centuries of Fallout, where myth, half-remembered history, and corporate lies blend together. Take Lucy McLean. She's not a wasteland scavenger. She's a Vault kid from Vault 33. Her whole life is shaped by Vault-Tec's careful theater. Clean jumpsuits, arranged marriages, controlled access to information, a belief that the Vault is safe, and the surface is a nightmare to be pitied or avoided. What she doesn't know, what we learn as Season 1 unfolds, is that her Vault isn't just a shelter. It's the center of a secret experiment involving multiple linked vaults, overseers grown in suspended animation, and a system designed to keep the inhabitants docile and useful. Vaults 31, 32, and 33 form a triad. On the surface, they're sister communities. In reality, they're pieces of a machine Vault-Tec built to test and groom leaders, manage populations, and keep a certain kind of person in charge. Vault 31 houses the preserved minds and bodies of Vault-Tec's golden boys, including people like Hank. Vault 32 suffers a horrific breakdown, exposing the psychological cost of the experiment. Vault 33 becomes Lucy's home, a stage-managed utopia built on lies. When Moldaver and her raiders attack, it doesn't just spark Lucy's journey, it rips the mask off the entire system. Hank McLean, Lucy's father, is the perfect embodiment of Fallout's core theme. The smiling face of authority, covering something monstrous underneath. To his daughter, he's the ideal overseer, calm, reasonable, protective. Let me know what you want next. hit subscribe and join me as we pick through the bones of the old world, one story at a time.